glad to have her. She was sworn in as the 19th Premier on October 11th, 2022, and was previous Leader of the Official Opposition and Leader of the Wild Rose Party. So big round of applause for the Premier. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul, for that kind introduction. I said when I came here, he's still president, because I think they just changed over at AUMA. So I think I get you for one more year, Paul. Is that right? I can tell you he's doing a very good job for you, because he has a number of your policy resolutions that have been brought forward, and I hope that you'll be able to see that we're acting on them, because we value so much that the work that you do at the RMA. I hope that you enjoyed the parapet session from our ministers. How'd they do? Oh, good. Excellent. Well, I just want to tell you, it is a pleasure for me to join you for the Rural Municipalities of Alberta's Fall Convention, and I always appreciate the chance to build on the relationship between our provincial and municipal governments. And I know that Rick McIver, our Minister of Municipal Affairs, continues to work closely with you to strengthen all of our communities, because we as a provincial government depend on your knowledge of local issues to ensure that we're meeting the needs and priorities of rural communities. And your feedback is a big help when we explain to the federal government why its decisions are misguided, which seems to happen a lot these days, as I'm sure you're all aware. There are also situations that call for a coordinated approach, like this year's wildfires. And the fact that it works so well shows the trust and respect that exists on both sides. And that's right down to municipalities' willingness to share your thoughts honestly and directly. And to the RMA, which does a great job of gathering input and providing it to government to provide us with a better understanding of what rural Alberta thinks and needs. So going forward, you can expect our good relationship to get even better, because our government is going to keep listening to you. And we will push decisions down to the local level where appropriate, so that people can make their best choices for their communities. Now, you can see in yesterday morning's healthcare announcement that the entire healthcare system, from routine preventative care right up to life-saving surgeries, is hurting from delays. In rural settings, staffing shortages and centralized health bureaucracy, it has a lack of awareness, which can often make matters worse. That's one reason why I appointed Martin Long as the Parliamentary Secretary for Rural Health. He's an excellent advocate for you, and he works with Health Minister Adriana LaGrange every day to ensure the health needs of your communities and your concerns are heard. We started our work to fix the province's healthcare system 1 year ago, and we were clear then that we were looking for smaller fixes in order to bring some immediate results. And we saw some progress, but we knew that there was more work to be done. So yesterday, we announced that we are refocusing the healthcare system to put patients and providers at the center where they belong. So the new, better integrated system will be built around 4 key priorities: primary care, acute care, continuing care, and mental health and addiction. This structure will ensure that each area gets the attention it deserves, uses staff more effectively, and allows more space for immediate decisions and responses to local conditions. Our goal is for the system to be adaptable. So if your community has specific acute needs in one specific area, the system will be able to shift to meet that local demand. And not because AHS has decided it from on high, but because staff and healthcare decision makers in the region have the freedom to react and to respond. You're going to get more accountable, more flexible healthcare networks with no changes to public healthcare or any cuts to frontline services. And you're going to have more say. As part of this refocused healthcare system, we will rely on 12 regional advisory boards. They already exist. We may repurpose them a little bit, as well as an Indigenous board, an advisory council that will bring local perspectives and priorities forward. And it's no secret that we have seen, sadly, constant service disruptions and temporary closures at rural hospitals. Do know that as a government, we believe that's unacceptable. And it's one of the reasons why we are refocusing the entire system. Solutions should be determined by common sense, by conditions on the ground, and by what the people affected really need and what they want, not by wishful thinking or ideology. Now that is as true. Oh, yeah, you can clap for that. I'll take it. Now that is true for healthcare, and it's also true for energy. This is why we decided on a 6-month pause in approvals for renewable energy projects. Alberta, as you know, leads the country in developing renewables, and we want to provide investors with the confidence and certainty that Alberta will remain the best destination for their dollars. And we want to reassure rural communities where the bulk of these projects have been located that they will be treated fairly. So of course, when I was here last time in the spring, some of the feedback that we got loud and clear from rural and agricultural landowners is that they want to ensure that these installations don't interfere with production on prime agricultural land. They also want to ensure that at the end of life that there is a plan for reclamation. Albertans rightfully insist that decisions now account for the future. So who is paying for the reclamation? How are we going to ensure that there is enough money set aside for that? I've received advice recently, for instance, that these large wind turbines, not only to the big blades in the steel tower, but they also have 850 cubic meters of concrete at their base. And one estimate I was given is that it would be a minimum of $1 million to be able to reclaim each of those turbines. Alberta, from experience, now knows how important it is to get things right. That's why we're taking the time to clarify the rules and to resolve uncertainties. You know, it would be nice if Ottawa took a page from our book and applied the same care to the entire energy file, because the world needs our oil and natural gas for security and stability as it transitions away from coal and other fuels that have higher emissions. And Alberta needs oil and natural gas because other forms of energy are, quite frankly, too intermittent and too expensive. But rather than help us benefit everyone, the federal government has been obstructing Alberta at every step. Ottawa has grand wishes for a net zero Canadian electricity grid by 2035, forcing us to build a new grid in a very short period of time. We know from studies that have been done that our province would have to spend hundreds of billions of dollars we don't have using power sources that aren't always available to create a system that would leave everyone potentially freezing in the depths of winter or heating up in the heat of summer. And we're not going to let this happen. We are reminding Ottawa that Albertans need furnaces that work 24/7 in winter, and air conditioning for that matter that works in plus 30 weather, and that the Constitution still exists with well-defined provincial responsibilities like electricity. Now, fortunately, the Supreme Court now agrees with us. They agreed with us a couple weeks ago in its decision on the Federal Impact Assessment Act. But this struggle isn't over. We expect the feds to regroup and come back with revised legislation. In fact, they're acting like that Supreme Court decision didn't occur. But I'm telling you now, we are not going to let them impose their irrational beliefs on this province. Massive debt, soaring electricity bills, and families shivering in the dark or overheating in the summer is a steep price to pay to satisfy a few activists and an arbitrary target. And Alberta is unwilling to pay that. I do want to say this I wish I could say that this was the limit of Ottawa's misjudgments, but unfortunately I can't, because I'm sure that you've heard by now about Ottawa's special treatment for some parts of Eastern Canada on the carbon tax. Now, we are glad. I want to know, I've heard that there's 300 heating oil installations in Alberta. Does anyone have heating oil in your municipality? Oh, over here. I'm going to talk to you afterwards. Anyone else? Okay, I need to find out all about that because I think it's only 300. But we are glad that some of our fellow Canadians, mostly in Atlantic Canada, get to keep a little bit more in their pocketbooks. But Ottawa's not contemplating any relief for the rest of the country, Alberta included. And this is the same government which told us that there would be no carve-outs for specific provinces in the proposed electricity regulations. So their decision is completely inconsistent with their arguments for a rush net zero grid. And it doesn't benefit every Canadian equally, which is part of the reason why they argued to have a carbon tax in the first place at the federal level, is so that it would be applied fairly across all regions and all provinces. But it is further proof that the federal carbon tax should be scrapped, an action that Alberta's government has called for since 2019. But I will give credit where it's due, because for the first time, Justin Trudeau and his ministers, his Liberal government, have been honest with Albertans that it's not about policy, it's about who Canadians vote for. And if only we would vote for more Liberals here, we might be able to have more success at the table. I don't know about you, but my MP doesn't sit on the government side of Parliament. I don't think that there are very many who do. But this is why Alberta deserves fairness, regardless of who they vote for, having given so much to this country. And this is just as true for the rural areas of our province. You have your own ways of life with unique contributions and industries that feed and support all Canadians. You are uniquely rural, and our government will work hard to help you stay that way, together with our trusted partners at the RMA. So I'm looking forward to learning about how we can better serve you and even better protect rural Alberta. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions now in the Q&A. Thanks for having me here today.